Peace and blessings, family, and welcome to Labors of Love podcast. We are here to inspire, uplift, and enlighten. Each episode, we will be hearing from Black midwives, doulas, and other traditional childbirth supporters who have dedicated their lives to being of service to Black mothers and families in all aspects of the motherhood journey. This episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Markita Glenn, also known as the Covered Doula. She is a trained birth and postpartum doula, a certified lactation counselor, and a lover of all things birth related. She has been active in the birthwork community for about 4 years now, and it's been a rewarding career choice for her. Currently, Markita works for a community program called Pettaway Pursuit Foundation, providing prenatal services, labor and delivery support, and postpartum support. She is a mother of a loving 5-year-old who is literally her entire world. Markita is on track to become an IBCLC certified lactation counselor. I just want to jump right on in and get this conversation going. Welcome, Markita. What were the messages you received about childbirth prior to becoming a doula?
So I knew nothing about it. Let me just be honest. Before becoming a doula, the reason why I decided to embark on this journey was I wanted to be the support that I did not have during my journey of labor. So I have a 5-year-old young lady in literally my life, right? And my experience with labor was not necessarily a bad experience, but I knew that something had to be different, right? My support was exhausted. I went into labor at 11:30 at night, bedtime, right? And when my contractions started kicking in at like 4 in the morning, I was literally in there like, help me, right? And then they're just like, go sleep, do something, right? Not in a mean way, but like, trying to sleep it out. Um, but after I had her, I knew that it was like more to this. And then a friend of mine was like, become a doula. And I'm like, what's that? And I found out what it was. And I was like, that's exactly who I needed, like not just me, because I don't just support, the birthing person. I support the whole family, right? So that's what we needed when my daughter was coming earthside.
Yes. Now that is phenomenal. And I think, it definitely, our experiences kind of bring us to our calling, right? And what it
Mm.
is that we become passionate about. So it sounds like it was the point in which, you experienced it for yourself that kind of put you on this path of supporting other mothers and families through this birthing experience. So your friend told you about becoming a doula. Did you know anything about like what a doula was, or how did you get connected to that information and that understanding?
Well, like the last week of my pregnancy, I heard someone say, like hire a doula, and I'm like, what is that? Like I keep hearing about this word, and what is it? And I'm just like, whatever. And then, like I said, after I'm like more research, more studying, like what is this? This is obviously a thing. Like it's just not, something that somebody is doing. It's obviously something that people do. It's people hire doulas, to help them, and not just in labor, prenatally, postpartumly, and then we also have like death doulas, and there's just this word, of just actually being help, assisting, educating,
Mhm.
right? So I did some research, and I was trained through an organization, and my instructor was phenomenal. Loved everything about the experience. It was like a weekend certification program. And again, I don't know if I mentioned before that you don't have to be certified in this work,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
So you can be trained, and if for some reason want to take on the journey of certification, you can still do this work, And I think that's one thing that people should understand, that you can hire a doula who is very well experienced, knowledgeable, who doesn't have certification, and they may be the most amazing thing that happened to you. The certification doesn't make that person, right? So excuse me. But yeah, so I decided to train but not be certified, because I am not certified. And I just love everything about it, because COVID hospitals are like, no one can come in here, right? And I'm in the city of Philadelphia, and a lot of the hospitals are like, certification, bring your certification, and you can't come in here unless you're certified. And we had to let them know, like, in our line of work, we don't have to be certified, and the family can hire us if we are not. Our certification has nothing to do with coming into a hospital. Our certification is only determined if the family would say, like, I like this doula certified or not. So what they're really asking is that we be trained. So they just don't want anyone coming in. And if you're a trained doula, to bring your proof of training. So for anyone who wanted to decide to do this work, certification, is great, but you don't have to be. And we're not medical professionals, and we don't want to be, right? We're not trying to be a nurse. We want to be doulas. We want to help these families, and it's the most rewarding job, I can say. I honestly can say this is one of the most rewarding careers I've had.
And that's phenomenal, and truly appreciate it, because I definitely appreciate the value that you bring to mothers and support during such a sacred process as bringing children earthside. So and you mentioned the pandemic, which we definitely can't talk about this without. How has the change been, and what was going on as far as being support prior to the pandemic, and what that looks like today?
So before, pre-COVID, as we like to call it, doulas could come in free will, before active labor, whenever. Um, Birthing families didn't have to worry about who they had to choose to come into the birthing suites or the hospitals with them. And at some point, when COVID hit, the hospitals literally shut down everything, and people who are expecting had choices to make. They had to pick, their spouse or their doulas or their moms, or who they wanted in their hospital. Their prenatal visits were cut short. Some of them had to go virtual. They weren't allowed to have their partners in their prenatal visits or in the ultrasounds. Partners couldn't hear the heartbeat. They weren't allowing people to make FaceTime calls. I mean, the pandemic made birthing very hard. It seemed like it was going to be impossible. But people who love this work, we made it happen. We went virtual. We did virtual support. And as hard as it was, we made it work. I did a lot of virtual support. And it looked like FaceTime calls, text messages, phone calls, breathing with moms on the phone, just so that they can relax, and just, wanting to hear your voice, and to hear them be empowered and say, you got this. You can do this. This is not ideal. This is not what we wanted. This is not how we wanted this to go. This is not how we planned it. But we're going to make it work. We're going to make it happen. In the organization that I work for, there's many of women that I've never met in person, because everything was virtual because of how the pandemic hit. We literally had to change the way that our program was ran. We were a home-based program, and we had to literally, FaceTime calls, Zoom calls, text messages, and I literally had the most rewarding encouragement from women that I never met.
Mm.
say, I needed you. Without you, I could not do this. And at that moment, I knew that I could not give up this work, no matter how hard it was in the middle of a pandemic, you know? So it's kind of like a blessing in disguise. One of those things help you to see your worth,
Mm-hmm.
like in the beginning, it was just like, how am I going to make this work? Because I left a full-time job in the middle of a pandemic to fulfill birth work
Wow. Yeah.
because I knew this was my calling, and we made it work. I salute every doula right now, who is trying to support families via virtually, or in person. Because some families did pick the doula, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they had to choose, and some did pick the doula. And as long as we had to labor, because there were restrictions. Once you're in the hospital, you can't leave.
Mm.
So we were spending hours with families where pre-COVID, we could leave, go home, rest, eat, you know. We were literally locked in rooms with families, not being able to go to a private restroom outside of the birthing room.
Wow.
If you didn't bring food to eat, if the nurse staff was nice, they bring you a good tray. But if not, then you had to fight it out, And I honestly believe that this pandemic has caused so much stress to the birthing person that labor is longer than what it would really be without the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So, my role is really important, and not just for the sake of helping a person bring a baby earthside, but to remind one that you can do this. Your body was made for this, You even though it is hard and the circumstances are hard, the stress of this pandemic that it has caused one, not to mention the mental health of the mental being of one during all of this, with everything changing the way that it has. I feel like I am definitely needed in this work.
No, that is it's definitely felt. I mean, your energy comes through about how passionate you are about doing this work. And I'm glad that you spoke about just because prior to the pandemic, there was such a need. We talk about Black women birthing
Mm,
and disparities were at that time. And stress always plays a role in not being able to surrender to the process. So
mm, mm,
as you mentioned, adding that whole other layer on top of that of, being in a hospital setting during a pandemic and the restrictions and just what the body is supposed to do and
mm,
how that is
mm.
impacting that, like the need to relax and then you're there to support, but the added stress of really being confined to this space, not being able to eat. Now that is significant, especially during long labors, which are, labor intensive anyway. And people, find themselves fatigued, needing a nap or what have you after hours of being support. So I appreciate that perspective because, it really is, it's a question, right? And a concern for those who, because I've given birth 3 times, but never during the pandemic. So this is a whole different
A
conversation.
whole different ball game, right? I tell everyone that I meet, pregnant or laboring, like super woman, right? You have superpowers. You can say in 10 years, I carried a baby and birthed through a pandemic, right? Like literally the whole world was doing this at the same time.
Yeah.
We all had to deal with this at the same time. And you had to literally change your whole world,
Mhm.
especially for moms who did this before, right? Like, oh, this is how labor and delivery goes, or this is how prenatal goes. Like, my partner can come, anybody can come in the birthing room, right? We went from cousins, grandmoms,
Best
moms,
friend.
dads, best
Yeah.
friends, to
Nobody.
picking who you
One.
wanted. One person. Could
Yeah.
you even imagine someone telling you that the beginning of your pregnancy and the weight of that through your whole pregnancy, because you don't know how, and the tension that could cause one?
Right. Right.
And that's why it's very important to understand that those positive affirmations, I was made for this. I
Mm-hmm.
can do this.
Mm-hmm.
My body was made for this,
Mm-hmm.
so though it works, it helps,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I am strong,
Yeah.
it all plays a part in being able to create life and bring life outside.
Absolutely. Belief is powerful. So, is there any story that you can share pre-COVID or COVID that really exemplifies, why you do this work, or is an example of like, this is why it's necessary, or this is just one of those experiences that I want women to know that they can have, or whatever brings up just the strongest emotion when you think back to the stories of your experience.
I think so. In our birth world, we have this like birth high, right? Like after having a baby, and I think that in itself is why I keep going.
Mm,
Just like having a woman say, like, I couldn't have done this without you, right? And
mm,
I always say, but I didn't do nothing. You did all the work, like that right there is like, I can't give this. I've tried to walk away from this work so many times,
mm,
not because I was confused, not knowing my purpose.
mhm,
And every time that I tried, it was another empowering moment where a family was just like, I needed you. I don't know what I would have done without you. Like hearing someone say that, and literally all you've done is like all I feel like I do is like empower my family. It's like, like they're cheerleader, like, let's go, you can do this, like sometimes that's all someone needs.
right.
So for a family just to say like, like I don't know what I would have done without you. That's like, I have to keep going.
Mhm,
I will not give up, like even if it is virtual, right? Like I'm on the other side of the Zoom call, like you can do this. I hear you. We
mhm,
got this, and explaining what is going on to them. Because
nice.
that's what it is, like helping a woman understand or any birthing person understand that, like the changes that your body has to go through. This is what's happening to you. This is what's going to happen. And understanding your rights. You have rights. You don't have to agree to half of the things that these hospitals say that you have to, right? So just having someone feel like I feel appreciated, my presence was felt. Because sometimes it can be hard. I've had moms like, like I don't want to talk. I
Mm,
just want to hear you, like, your presence here. Like we don't have to talk. Pack this whole doula bag of all these tricks and not use one of them.
right.
Because your presence is just needed sometimes. That too can make you feel like, wow, I make a difference. So,
No, that is powerful. Just being in that space and them not feeling alone, or,
mhm,
surrounded by all this medical staff or medical things, and just to
mhm,
have someone that feels like home or feels
mhm.
like a place of comfort. That's powerful. So you operate out of the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. Now
Yes.
that things are virtual, are you opened up to supporting mothers in different places? I know you said you're a part of a practice, so how would that work if someone wanted to
Yeah.
work with you?
So again, I mentioned that I work for Pettaway Pursuit Foundation here in Pennsylvania, and we actually have um, our program is in the Philadelphia area, but we do the other boroughs. So like Montgomery County, Delco, we work all over, especially with the virtual. So we can do in person in those. I travel. Wherever you need me, I'm gonna be there, right? Like all I have to do is get everything situated at home and I will be there. So the traveling doula. I will travel for you, so you can have this experience because everyone deserves to have a doula.
Absolutely.
Everyone deserves to be able to feel empowered, educated
Hmm.
about their, birthing rights in pregnancy because it's like I said before, it's before labor and delivery. Educating them about the changes that their bodies are going to go through, right? You
Hmm.
know, you had mentioned before. about women of color being scared. They are terrified to birth. And it's literally the most amazing, when I say it's the most amazing thing that can ever happen to one is, bringing life into this world. And our women are scared.
Right. Right.
And hiring a doula can help. It's not to say like I'm gonna fix all of your fears or not, having me or having any doula is gonna help you not be scared or it's gonna save your life, but it does help you to educate yourself, to advocate for yourself, so it's really important. But yeah, emails, um, our organization actually we work with insurance companies. So women who have Keystone First,
Mhm.
they're entitled. It's free. The insurance company will provide it for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's something specific to the area of the state of Pennsylvania.
So I only know about Pennsylvania. I know that other doulas work in like Jersey through
Mhm.
insurances. Like there's ways.
Gotcha.
Basically, you have to just know. Um, but yeah, in Jersey they have a way that you can get a doula through insurance as well. So there's definitely ways. We have to find our resources,
Mhm.
ask for help. Like it's okay to ask for help. And that's one thing I had to learn in my adulthood. We need to ask for help, like use your resources. Social media is a great resource, right? Hashtags. Click those hashtags.
No, and that's important. And I'm glad, like you just mentioned a few things that definitely, deserve to be, highlighted. And that's that whole the process and the preparation to have, a positive and healthy outcome when it comes to birthing is that information and that education and that advocacy, like you said. To be informed is empowering, right? To have that information and that knowledge, it is empowering. And sometimes it does take someone else to come in and kind of feed that information to you if you
Yes.
haven't done the research for yourself. So the knowledge alone of what the doula is bringing to the table, so that, like you said, you understand what your body's doing even prior to labor and delivery, right? All the changes that you're going through, why you're feeling the way you do, why your moods are swinging. So to just have someone knowledgeable to kind of go to, like, well, this is going on, or that is
Yes.
going on, that can relieve a lot of stress because, it's new. And like you said, even for mothers who have birthed before, this experience is going to be different. There's just no way around that. So I truly appreciate the support. And I definitely want people to know how to get in contact with you, about your organization, because what you're saying as far as the insurance piece is the accessibility. And
Mhm.
people don't know what they don't know. Sometimes you think, well, I can't afford that. There's no way I could pay $1,200 to someone to support me, through this process. So how do people find out? How do they get in touch with you? How do they, is there websites? Is there social media pages that you would recommend them connect to?
Yeah, so I am currently working on a website in the works. Got to get that all together.
Okay.
But I am on Instagram as the Covered Doula. So it's THE.COVEREDDOULA, the Covered Doula. Um, and for the insurance purposes, call your insurance company. Like, listen, I want this extra support. And then not all insurance companies will approve it, but it's worth a try.
Mhm.
Add doula services to your registry. Ask for donations. Ask your community. Like I really would like this doula to work with me. This is her prices. I can do this. Can you match me? Again, put it on your registry. Um, what else can we do? Talk to a doula about prices that a lot of doulas will work with you. Part of their prices, what we can work with you. We can do payment plans. It's because in reality, for me, I would much rather you have a doula than to have an experience that was not worth your while. My main goal is for you to be able to say that my birthing experience was a positive one. I want you to be able to remember this because when you ask people about their birth, it's just like, oh, it was so negative. This doctor did this. I tore. You only hear the negative stories. Nobody ever wants to hear the positive ones, and everybody's just like clenching their like, oh wait, I don't want to give birth to this baby. Like, hold up.
And I'm so glad you said that because I really feel like, that's also part of the platform. Like we have to change the tape. We
Yes.
have to change the messaging around it. And for me, that was a lot of my motivation because I had 3 amazing births. I had out of hospital births. They were at home. They were in the way that I desired. I was supported. I
Mhm.
had a doula. I had a midwife. And those, to me, those were the ingredients, right? That lended me to these experiences. But having conversations with other mothers because it's something that comes up, right? You're in settings, you doing play dates or what have you. And it's
Yeah.
almost like, it's one of those conversations that kind of like always comes up. And just sharing those stories, but hearing more on the negative side, the hearing of how amazing or just, transformative and just beautiful the experience was, but then also meeting women who also had these beautiful stories. So we definitely need more of what that looks like.
Yeah.
We need to normalize that this is, yeah, there is pain and the
Yeah.
pain has a purpose. And we
Mhm.
can talk about that too, but
Exactly.
that doesn't, that's not the whole of the experience.
So
So
it's so funny that you said that because one, we need to normalize that women of color, we can have midwives. We don't have to birth with OBs. We don't have to birth in the hospital. We have options. You can birth at home. There's ways.
yeah,
It costs, yes. But again, if you know for a fact that you want to have children, save.
yeah.
Save for that midwife. Again, add it to your registry, right?
Now that's amazing. And in certain states, again, the whole do your research piece, and maybe that's something that we could put out there that if someone could create a website that consolidates all this, because in certain states, even home births are covered even by state insurance.
Mhm.
So, paid insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, I know they covered one of our births. So you got to
You gotta do your research.
ask
Ask.
and see.
Yes.
The only
It's
thing they can say
okay
is
to ask. Yep. And then we'll go around that and find out a way. We can figure it out, right? Like we work for what we want. We want
no.
a positive experience. We're going to create it. Hire your birth team. You
Yeah.
have the right. You don't have to walk into the hospital and take everybody that comes your way. Like if you're not okay with that OB or that midwife, change it. You have that right,
Yeah.
right? And just understanding that they work for you. Just like I work for you, they work for you, right? This is your birth.
And how
And
empowering is that?
I always say to my families, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't hurt, right? Because this is what birth is, and understanding that the stronger those contractions are, the closer you're going to get to your baby, right? So when you feel like you're ready to give up, which is a transition in labor,
Mm-hmm.
is a transition in labor. Um, like, okay, I always say this what Miss Keita told me, right? Okay, when I want to give up, that means I'm getting closer. Yes, yes. So we're gonna rock it out. We're gonna hip thrust, we're gonna, whatever we need, massage, counting pressure points, we're gonna give you some ice, we're gonna breathe through it, and
Yeah.
we gonna get this baby earthside because you can do this. Your body was made for this,
I love
right?
the conversation. You are so appreciated. You just don't know. I could do this all
Thank
day.
you.
But
I
that is
can
so
talk about birth all
powerful.
day. I
That is
love what
so
I do.
powerful.
I
Yeah,
love what I do. I
and
really
you are
do.
so needed. I appreciate that.
Thank
That is
you.
phenomenal. So I will definitely have your information in the description so people can, get in contact with you and whatever resources that we just spoke about will definitely be in the comment section. So please, refer there. You can always reach out to me directly if you are, want to get in touch with Sister Nikita and Markita, and we can make sure that happens. Um, Before we close out, if there's someone who's watching this and they're like, I want to do what it is that you do, is there any advice that you would give to them um, in that regard?
It is, I would say, do your research on the programs that are out here. There's a lot of organizations that are training doulas. Um, and just be confident in the organization that you're working with. Because again, like I said, I trained with one organization for my birth um, doula training, and I didn't certify with them for a number of reasons. And if I would have done my research, if I could have trained with somebody else, and I probably would have certified right away. So that's very important. Know who their background, what is their mission,
Mhm.
why are they training people to become doulas, you know and we got to speak some things into existence. I would love to be able to train in the future. I have an organization that will be able to help people see the importance of what a doula is, because again, we're not just for birth, we come in postpartum too. There's postpartum doulas where they help you at home, help you adjust in the postpartum, because that postpartum stage ain't nothing to play with.
Not at all. Not at all. Whether
So,
it's the first time or the third, fourth time, it's
listen, and it's all different experiences. And just to have someone to say, like, you're doing an amazing job,
Mhm.
let me fold that laundry for you.
Or go take a nap. How about
Uh,
that?
Let me hold that baby and go take a nap, right? Breastfeeding, because breastfeeding is a full time job.
It
I
is.
need society to stop painting that breastfeeding is oh so easy.
Mm-mm.
It's a
Mm-mm.
lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
And anyone who can do it, I commend you. It's a lot of work. So yeah, my main thing would be go for it, do your research up behind the organization that you would like to train with. Understand that you do not have to certify in this work. Certification is an option. You can still find clientele that will hire you based on your beliefs and the way you work and who you are as an individual, right? The energy that you bring into a room.
Mhm.
So trust in yourself, right? It can get hard, and just, be the best you. That's, that's what I can say.
Oh, that is beautiful, 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 and greatly appreciated. I am so grateful that we were able to coordinate because this whole on call, I get
No, I'm so
expected.
sorry.
No, you do not have to apologize. I'm like, I will be as flexible as I need to be because the work that you are doing absolutely takes precedence and, deserves all the consideration. So
Thank
I'm
you.
grateful that we were able to make this happen this evening.
Yes.
And, I'm looking forward to, everyone just hearing this story and feeling your energy because that is
No,
so valuable in this
thank
work and just
you. Thank
who
you
you
so
are.
much.
Yeah, definitely.
I truly appreciate you for allowing me the space to talk about my work. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you. And thank everyone for tuning in. Please stay tuned again. Reach out if you need more information. There'll be information for you to link up. We definitely want to keep this dialogue going. So thank you all for taking the time out to tune in this evening. And you are truly appreciated. Peace and
Thank
blessings, fam.
you.